Have you ever heard the term that job really stands for just over broke? But what if I told you it doesn't have to stay that way? Not only that, you can completely flip this script on its head and become financially independent. Hey, Frank Thomas here, Wealth Generation Strategies, and we're going to be talking about just over broke or a job. Today, we're going to break down what a job really is and why so many of us feel stuck in one, and how you can use yours to build real financial wealth and freedom. So let's just get right into it. Starting off, what is a job? A job is simply this. You exchange your time, your skills, and your energy for, ta-da, a paycheck. Time for money. And this is how more than 90% of the population survives. Monday morning, they get up, they go to the job, they work till Friday, they party all Friday, all weekend, and then Monday morning with a hangover, they go back to the job, and they just stick with it because that's what they know. And that's what we're taught right out of school. But there's one thing you got to consider here, that a job is not a destination. And that's where we find that we get stuck. And that's why it becomes just over broke. It's not a destination. It's really a tool in disguise. And also realize too, the moment you start seeing it as a tool, instead of being your identity, everything changes. Let's look at this just over broke. It hits hard because for a lot of people, it's so true. Tell me, how many people have money after they get paid? You work 40 hours, maybe out more every week, and the money, it's gone before the next paycheck even hits. I'm sure you've heard the expression, too much month and not enough money. Okay, I'm sure we've all heard it. We got rent, we got groceries, we have bills, gas. But the thing is, you're not really broke, but you're not really getting ahead either. And that's where the disparity starts sinking in. But here's the real talk about this topic. It's not always about how much you make, but it's about what you do with what you make. Now, just take a moment and let that sink in. It's about what you do with what you make. And that's what's really important here. Before I show you how we can flip this script and make your job a very rewarding experience, consider supporting this channel by subscribing. And if you really like this video, if you really, really, really like it, be sure to give it a like. It's that easy. Thank you so much. But let's flip the script. What we have to do is we have to change our mindset. And your job is your launch pad. What's the first rule to building wealth? Pay yourself first. That is it. Full stop. You need to learn to pay yourself first. Before you pay your bills, before you buy stuff, and before you upgrade your lifestyle, especially, you got to learn how to set aside money for you. You have to remember that you're part of the equation too. Just not your bills, just not your rent, just not a new fancy car. You. And you have to learn this lesson. And the longer it takes you to learn this lesson, the harder it is to find that elusive financial freedom. That means saving, investing, and building a little freedom fund. So just think about it. When I was in my 20s, I didn't care. I got a long life ahead of me. I got lots to do. I don't got a lot of money, so I'm going to have as much fun as I can with it. And I got into my 30s and I woke up one day and went, whoa, I'm getting old. I'm not a millionaire yet. What happened? What happened was I never took a second to stop and think about what this was all about. And this video is talking about it. When I hit my 40s, life got so busy, having family and taking care of my wife and kids and buying a bigger house and more toys, you name it. You never get around to saving. And I was approaching my late 50s. I went, hey, hold on a second here. There was a couple times in my life where I actually saved up quite a bit and also turned around and spent quite a bit. And I realized, you know something, if I were to just save this, what a difference that would make. Well, I still didn't get it. And I kept doing the just over broke. Earning, spending, earning, spending. It was a hamster wheel of life. When I started to approach my 60s, I realized I had to make a change. I had saved very, very little, less than $20,000. And I realized that if I want to go into retirement and have something to retire on, like a little nest egg, I needed to save some money. So I really started to change things up, and I started to build that little freedom fund. Now, when you get serious about it, you'll be shocked at how fast you can do it. What I would recommend right off the kick is the earlier you can start, the better. Figure out a way to slice off 10% from every check and automate it and make it non-negotiable. You're a bill that has to be paid, and you put it away. And it's not into a fund that you can go buy a new iPhone or a new fancy car. This is for you and your family in the future. So learn how to slice that 10% off. Hey, I know some of us can't do 10%. So you slice off what you can, but you work towards that elusive 10%. I was well up into 20% plus, and it really started to make a big divot in my savings, and I was saving very rapidly. I can save $40,000 or $50,000 in a year. Yes, it is possible. And like I said, make it non-negotiable. Part of this is you're going to learn how to invest. Don't be afraid. It's easy to learn, but you just got to learn, because this is how you stop being just over broke. You stop surviving and you start owning. And this is really the trick here. And also learn how to invest into assets that earn you money while you sleep. And yes, it is very possible. I'm getting an average 15 to 16% return in the stock markets. Even in a down market, I'm still making 15 to 16% because I'm not selling assets. I'm cashing in dividends. Big difference. Get into that too. What about that nasty, ugly old paycheck? It is not a finish line. And this is where you got to really change your mindset. It's the fuel for your supercharger. Okay? Little every paycheck. Now, how would you make your job a rewarding experience? Let's go a little bit deeper on that one. How would you make your job actually more rewarding? You're working for somebody else, and it's pretty dry. Start thinking like an owner and not just an employee. And that's a radical change in thinking. I'm not telling you to completely turn everything upside down, but start thinking, how can I make this business more profitable? How can I make this job more rewarding? How can I do this? How can I do that? Is really the trick. Become the one who solves problems. And this is how you stand out. And when you stand out, you become worth even more. You're giving more difficult tasks. This is how people go from being the worker bee to the guy who runs all the worker bees. Trust me, I know it. Okay? Also, consider how you use your evenings and weekends, and use them wisely to continue to learn, build, and grow who you are. Next, you want to set specific milestones, like in 6 months, I'm going to save $3,000, or in a year, I'll have a profitable side hustle. So you got to start cooking on that right now to turn it into a profitable side hustle. And continue to track your net worth every month. Remember, your net worth is whatever you own in terms of assets minus your debts, and that's your net worth. Not just your income, this is now your wealth, because as you collect and you start saving, you will see that your wealth goes up. And a funny thing happens as your wealth increases, your debt, in other words, what you owe somebody else's wealth starts to go away, and you owe less, and now you can save more. It's really a vicious cycle, but it's very exciting. Also, start to surround yourself with people who think bigger, because honestly and truthfully, they did a study a number of years ago, and they found out you're a net result of the top 5 people you hang around. So if they all earn $50,000 a year, guess what you're earning? I'll leave it to you. But if they earn $500,000 a year, you could be earning that too. The big truth here is freedom doesn't come from quitting your job. It comes from having the option to quit. In other words, you have created freedom enough that you don't have to stay there, or you can find something better. And that makes it a whole different game, because I know some jobs are just dead end. They're no fun. your boss is terrible. It happens. But a lot of the time, you're the problem, not the boss. So just think about that as well. And it comes because of the fact that you're struggling with this whole concept of just over broke. So yeah, your job might mean just over broke right now. But if you work towards building that freedom fund, this doesn't become your final chapter. It just becomes a journey on the road to your final chapter. Remember, use your job to fuel your freedom. Pay yourself first. Stack your skills and become worth more. Stack your cash and stack your assets. Let your money work harder than you do. You may have a job, but you have real work, and that is building the life that you really, really want. Be sure to leave a comment in the comments below if you think that you're trapped in a JOB. And how can you think you can change that? And also, you should see on your screen a video coming up that's talking about the difference between minimalism and frugality. This is another side of the equation that I didn't even touch in this video. Worthwhile watching because it's kind of the other half of improving yourself and your job and learning to pay yourself, etc., etc., etc. So be sure to check it out. Otherwise, I want to thank you so much. Frank Thomas here. And if we're in a job, hey, let's get excited about it and not be dreading Monday morning. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.